So you mean the people have not been resettled at all?
Nobody, no single Bakassi person has been resettled. A farmland was, some buildings were built in one farmland area. First of all, you cannot relocate this people to a landlocked area because they are predominantly fishermen. You understand? And even their lifestyle, they cannot thrive in a landlocked area. So now they took them to a place where they said they built buildings. Not one Bakassi person was allocated any house in that place. So I am telling you that in even what they call the Bakassi local government and the so-called law number 7, which now, because of the current development, it looks like that law has finally been abandoned, thank God. But in that current arrangement, no Bakassi person has lived in that place. No Bakassi person has had any home until recently when on our own, with the information from INEC, we moved to Day Spring and registered there in a like a collection of islands, swampy islands. But we said it is okay because it is better than being on the street. So on our own, we mobilized ourselves and went there and requested to be registered as voters. I'm sure that you saw those.
Yeah, we saw
the picture. You understand when we went to be registered.
So for you,
it's a long story. For me, I do not object or don't mind. In fact, I welcome the idea of any attempt to review.
But do you think that judgment can actually be reviewed?
I would not want to dampen anybody's enthusiasm, but I'm telling you that I'm realistic. That is not what I'm looking at. You understand? I am looking at the welfare of my people. I'm looking at taking my people off the streets. I'm looking at resettling my people immediately.
Is that the way your people feel as well?
This is exactly the way and that is why those boys are, doing whatever they're doing. This is the way. I had the press conference with all the leaders of Bakassi, and what the people want is to be resettled. Because, being moved away from your home is a very painful thing. I try not to talk about Bakassi without being tearful. You understand? I'm accused of being too emotional about Bakassi. I'm accused of almost being a militant. But I am in touch with the people. And I'm not just their political leader. I am a princess. My father was a traditional ruler in Bakassi. And I'm from there. And I've lived with them. You understand? We fought the war with Cameroon from there. So I know what I'm talking about. And what I'm saying is that we want the federal government to resettle us. We do not want a situation where we do not want any conflict. We do not want a situation where you now send Nigeria to war with Cameroon, because if you say that you are going to forcefully enter Cameroon, obviously Cameroon will not fold their hands and look at you. You understand? They too would engage their forces to fight.
Let me bring you in here. Quite appalling that the Nigerian government has still not been able to settle, just a local government area. We don't know what the population of Bakassi is.
As I speak to you today, we have, and even with a lot of effort, because people are scattered all over the place, but during the last voters registration exercise, I think we have over 9,000. You understand?
Isn't it quite baffling? Let's just assume
during that
over 9,000. Let's just assume the population of Bakassi is around 30,000.
Yes, but
it's quite appalling that the federal government is not able to resettle 20,000 people.
It's funny because I remember there was about was it 1 billion that was allocated then when they said they were going to relocate the people. But it's not even so much so as the federal government even resettling them. Is the significance of what is happening now, because the people have said we don't want to go to Cameroon. So if you notice from all the stories we read about the Bakassi people, I haven't heard one Bakassi person say I want to be in Cameroon.
No.
So it therefore shows that if you carry out a plebiscite today, most likely 95% or 98% of them, let me even say 99% of them will say, look, we want to be in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And if people have grown to be used to an area, you understand, it's very difficult for you to leave your ancestral home. That's where you buried your forefathers.
Yes, which we have.
Their graves are there. If you say I should move from Umwebu, for example, where I come from, how will I talk about my grandfather's grave that is there? Even when I built a church,
and now these people have accepted to move.
Yes, and now they have accepted to move. And from what we can see, they said the Day Spring Island was not part of the areas that were ceded, and they could have, if they had resettled them, if they were comfortable, I don't think these issues would have come to the front burner as it is right now. But it's coming to the front burner because it's obvious that frustration has set in. Because there's a level to which you can push. But if you remember what the traditional ruler said, I was reading what he said, Etim Edet. He said, look, they are going to go back to claim their land because they have hoped, and their hopes have been dashed. And even during the broadcast, for those who listen to it, because they said the Dayspring FM, that is the new radio station, when the Iziekwe Young Etsu Oku, the militant leader, who Madam says she doesn't really know, in his own broadcast, he was very clear about it. He said, look, people should leave Abana, people should leave those areas because they are now going to go and fight. But you see, now, these are areas that Nigeria has technically ceded under the Green Tree Agreement. Now, these people do not belong to Nigeria by law, unquote. That is those areas.
Yeah.
So Nigeria, like Madam said here, cannot go into those territories. So what you're now saying is that these people are now exposed to the whim and caprices of the Cameroonian gendarmes. So they can name them. I mean, if what capacity do they have? What equipment do they have?
But all of this would not be necessary.
Yeah, talking about they can name them, they can kill them. You understand?
Kill them.
And we don't want bloodshed. We don't want our sons to go and die there. They can kill them. You know, that's what we keep talking about. You know, the reality on ground is that we have this spring area where we are registered. Do you understand? Yeah. My dear, let us be realistic. I don't like people are playing politics with human lives, and it's very, very unfair. You understand? We have Day Spring Island. We carried out National Assembly election, that is the House of Rep election, the Senate election, you understand? The State Assembly election, the presidential election was carried out in Day Spring. At the time, maybe when it is politically suitable, you allow, you use people, you understand? We were allowed to go there to go and vote. We voted massively for the president from that place. We voted for senators. We voted for House Assembly members. The only thing is that something strange happened. For the governorship election, we had hired boats prepared to cross to go and vote. On the eve of the election, about 5 p.m. on Friday, injunction came in that we cannot go and vote in this spring. So which means that we did not vote for the governorship election. And if people are saying that this spring is not Nigeria, does it mean that Cross River State has 17 local governments? And we don't, and mind you, allocation that has been going to Cross River State is for 18 local governments, not 17.
So, yeah, that's
you understand? And they have, they are supposed to have
local government area, which is Bakassi.
Exactly.
What happens to the allocation?
Under the constitution of this country, Bakassi is still a local government in this country, in Cross River State. You understand? And there's supposed to be something called Bakassi in 5 Ikan wards. So maybe the government has been giving allocation to what they call this Bakassi Ikan. So we want to ask, you understand, what has been happening to the allocation that has been going to that local government? And if, because I read the governor's interview saying that maybe Nigerians do not know that Bakassi is now in Cameroon. So does it mean that Cross River State has 17 local governments? These are the questions that we want answered. You know, because all of us, as we speak today, sometimes I don't really blame those boys that went to declare, because I personally have had to live with a lot of constraints. But right now, as I speak, I'm pushed to the wall. You know, I'm very, very emotional about it, and I really don't care what happens again. All we want is that we want my people to be relocated and taken off the streets. My people are dying. The old people have no homes. You understand? Like he said, we left. I'm very happy that I met a young man who has traditional values. You don't know what it means to leave the graves of your forefathers in a place.